Do you want to learn how to carry concealed? On this episode of Tactical Tidbits, I'll give you the pros and cons of the most popular carry positions. Hello again, I'm Herman Morris from Alpha One Tactical. Now, I get a lot of new shooters in class, and eventually most of them want to learn how to carry concealed. And the question I always get is, what's the best way to carry? And as with everything, there are no perfect solutions, only trade-offs. So today I wanted to give you a quick and dirty overview of the most common carry positions so that you can decide for yourself what's best. Now let's start up front and work our way back. Now, appendix carry has become very popular in the last several years, and this is how I carry, and it's my preferred method. And so let's start with the cons. Now, a lot of people are averse to this position because they claim that it's too dangerous because the muzzle is very close to some of very important stuff like your family jewels and your femoral artery that runs down your leg. And they do have a point, but I think it's those concerns are a little overblown, because if you position the holster correctly, the barrel should follow right in between your groin and your leg, and unless you have your legs completely together, that muzzle should rarely, if ever, point at either your junk or your leg. However, since it is still a higher degree of risk, I don't recommend that newbies start carrying in this position until they're very proficient in a safer position, such as the 3 o'clock. Now, another con, depending on your body type, is that it can be pretty uncomfortable to sit in this position and have the gun and holster smashing into your belly. So what are some of the pros? Well, in this position, your weapon is easily accessible by your strong hand and your support hand. It's also very accessible when driving. Now, the 3, 4, and 5 o'clock positions are notoriously difficult positions for righties to present their weapon when driving, since it's wedged against the seatbelt latch and or the center console. In addition, again, because it's accessible by both hands, it's easier to keep retention on the weapon. All right. Well, the next position is the 3 o'clock. Let's start with the pros. This is a very comfortable position, and it's just sitting against your pelvis and should not be pushing into any organs. It's also very natural to present from this position, since most people learn to draw from the 3 o'clock from an external holster. It's also one of the safest positions because the muzzle of the handgun should not be pointing at any vital parts of the body. Now, it can also help in retention to blade away from a threat to keep that weapon as far away from them as possible. And what about the cons? Well, for most people, it's not possible to reach the weapon with their support hand. This can vary by body type, but it's by far the most difficult since it's physically the furthest position from your opposite side. And as mentioned earlier, this position makes it very difficult to draw, for righties at least, from the driver's seat in a vehicle. While it can be a good position for retention, as mentioned earlier, it can also be more difficult to defend since it can barely be reached by the opposite hand. Think of a situation where you're surrounded and blading wouldn't help. Also, since your hips tend to be your widest point, this position can be the most difficult to conceal since it can stick out and print significantly. Now, the 4 and 5 o'clock positions are very similar to the 3 o'clock, except they help in a couple of ways. With a canted holster, usually about 20 degrees, it's usually a little more natural to reach back from the gun without having to break your wrist very much. In addition, it helps conceal the pistol a little better than the 3 o'clock. In the case of the 4 o'clock, it might even be possible to reach the weapon with your support hand, from the rear. Just keep in mind that these two positions make it much more difficult to draw when seated. Now, the last position is a 6 o'clock or small of the back. Pros. A lot of people like this position because it feels comfortable and can be reached by either hand. However, it's not as easy as reaching for it from the appendix position, since it's still behind you and you must break your wrist significantly to get a good solid grip on it. Now, small of the back is very good for concealment since it's harder for people to feel it, especially other people, that is, during a hug or something like that. But it comes with the cons, which is it's still behind you. And you might think it's very concealed or more concealed than you think, but you could actually be exposing it and not know it because it's behind you and you can't see it. One of the biggest problems is when bending over and the weapon tends to print quite a bit or be completely exposed. Again, since it's behind you, it's easy to not notice that. Because of this fact, the biggest threat is for someone noticing it, and if they try to disarm you, you would not even see them coming. And even if you did, you would have to defend something behind you where you don't have as much reach or strength. And in addition, note what part of your body the weapon comes into contact. Your spine. In a fight, it's reasonable to expect to end up on your butt at some point, right? So landing on the weapon could cause instant and permanent damage to our backs. And on top of that, if someone is on top of us, pummeling us, good luck trying to get to your weapon, if you have the weight of 2 people on top of it. And lastly, even under perfect circumstances, at the end of the day, it's the furthest away that you can get from where we're trying to go, downrange. Therefore, it's also the slowest, right? So for those reasons, I don't consider small of the back as a primary option for carry. In my book, it occupies the same position as something like ankle carry. If I were to do it, it would be for a backup only. All right, well, I hope this helped you understand your options a little better. Remember, none of this matters if you don't take the time to train and become proficient in whatever method you ultimately choose. Come learn how to be safe, responsible, and effective with your weapon by joining us in class. Check out alpha1tactical.com and check out our class schedule. I'd love to teach you in person. I'll see you next time.